Do you want to stay more focused on the right goals in your life, or even just figure out what the right goals are for you? Do you want clarity? Do you want better work-life balance? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to Success Through Failure.
Welcome to the Success Through Failure podcast, the show that reveals failure as your path to success. You'll listen to intriguing interviews with some of the most successful people on the planet and learn how their failures became a launchpad for success and how yours can too. Here's your host, former Division I All-American wrestler, former Division I head coach, speaker, and personal coach, Jim Harshaw.
Welcome to another episode of Success Through Failure. Today, I bring you Todd Stottlemyre. You're here because you want to learn. You want to make the most of your time working out or driving or whatever else it is you're doing right now. And I'm like you. I learn a ton from listening to great shows, but I don't always remember everything that I learned. Sometimes I don't even get a chance to listen all the way through the episode, so it's almost like I'm wasting my time because I'm not putting this stuff into action. As a listener, you don't have to worry about that because I create an action plan for you for every single episode, including this one. So you can maximize your time and use the actionable, practical advice to help you get clear and stay focused on exactly what you need to do to achieve the life you want to live. Just go to jimharshawjr.com/action to get instant access to the action plan from today's guest. So that's jimharshawjr.com/action. Todd is a global entrepreneur, speaker, and high-performance business coach. He's a former Major League Baseball player who played 15 years in the bigs and was part of 3 world championship teams. Todd earned the prestigious Branch Rickey Award and the Lou Gehrig Award back in 2000. He has spoken to audiences of up to 20,000 people and is truly inspiring others to create goals and dream big. And he provides a strategic roadmap for doing so through his goals planner strategy. Todd is currently writing his first book that will be available this summer, which I really look forward to, and we're going to talk about today. And if you don't have time to listen to the entire episode today, or if you hear something you like, don't have time to write it down, make sure you grab your free copy of the action plan from this episode, as well as get access to action plans from every episode that I've ever done. Go to jimharshawjr.com/action. That's jimharshawjr.com/action. Todd, welcome to the show.
Jim, thanks so much for having me, man. I appreciate being on.
Yeah, well, we got a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right into it. So you were a Major League Baseball player for 15 years. I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, it's some guy, I know a bunch of guys who have made it who've played professionally, a couple who have made it to the big leagues, but man, being there for such a long career. Give us a brief overview of how your childhood dream of making it to the big leagues came to fruition.
Very good. Well, first of all, Jim, I'll tell you, I had a massive edge on most kids my age, and that was Yankee Stadium was my playground. So I grew up in an environment that really excelled that dream. And you see, my father was a all-star, 3-time 20-game winner, 5-time all-star for the New York Yankees. And I think back to growing up and where Yankee Stadium was a playground. I laugh when I say Monument Park was our monkey bars for my brothers and I. And, my dad had extraordinary teammates like Mantle, Maris, Ford, Yogi Berra being his first manager.
Wow.
What does all that mean? That means, like, as a kid, it was like when we went to the stadium, it was like going to the School of Champions. People who dreamed big, who were living those dreams, who were excelling at the, in their profession at the highest level. And, just growing up in that environment instilled a dream in me that I thought, wow, my dad's got the coolest job in the world. He plays a game, he calls it a job and gets paid. I want to do that when I grow up, And, but that dream, day after day, year after year of going to Yankee Stadium with my father, the dream just it just got to a point where it was becoming more alive every time I was in that environment. And, I was lucky enough to live it out. I would tell you that oddly enough, even though I had this massive dream and as I was going through middle school and high school, I wasn't even good enough to pitch on my high school team until I was a senior in high school.
Wow.
And, so it's not like, I was pitching more than everyone else or more than anyone else all the way through. And I, once again, I had a massive edge. Game, had a lot of passion, having fun playing the game. I was a massive student of the game. But still with all of that, sophomore in high school, junior in high school, not even good enough to pitch on my team. I actually played shortstop and third base and thought I was going to go on to college as an infielder, but finally got the chance to pitch as a senior in high school and just went out there and I was having fun, living my passion, and I was playing the game and ended up breaking all the school records and then was drafted out of high school, eventually was drafted a couple more times out of college, and then got my chance to play professional baseball.
So let's go back to the part where you said you had fun. You just went out there and had fun. I mean, that's a hard thing to do. Sort of my world is wrestling, all right? So college wrestling, there's a, Penn State University wrestling team they're the new elite, right? And they've won like 6 of the last 7 national team championships, and they're just extremely dominant. And the one thing that all of their athletes say when they're in their post-match interviews is like they're out there having fun. And wrestling is not really known as a fun sport. And the sort of mentality historically has been like, it's not fun. You go out there, you battle, you grind, and it's not supposed to be fun, but it's just supposed to be hard, and that's how you win. But these guys have a totally different mentality about that. So that's kind of a unique shift. I mean, how do you have fun but try to perform at your highest level and not be afraid to fail because you work so hard and your dreams and hopes and wishes and goals are on the line? How do you transcend that pressure and make it fun? Or do you? I mean, how do you make that happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. I tell all people all the time, my passion was the pain. It's kind of like when the game is over, you look back and you say, man, that was fun. But the fun part is competing. The fun part is the sweat, blood, and tears, to get to something final. And, when you think about it as a wrestler being on the mat, it's like maybe you're in a tough situation. It's physical and mental being on that wrestling mat. Same thing with pitching or playing the game of baseball. It's physical and mental. And sometimes the fun is just going through the pain. It's kind of the thrill and agony of victory, right? And and the fun and the reward comes after, knowing that you gave it everything you had on that given day just to be the best you could be. And then whether you succeeded or whether you failed, whatever the scoreboard says sometimes is not even the answer. The answer is the process of the competition. And Amen. I got to tell you something, competing, man, is fun. It is so much fun. And it's even fun sometimes when the reward isn't there, when the scoreboard doesn't tell you you were victorious that day. You were still victorious that day because you had the courage to go out there and lay it on the line. And it's all about being fun to me is about laying it on the line. It's about getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, saying, here I am, let's get it on, man. That's fun.
Yeah. Man. Hey, man, you're speaking my language and certainly for the listener too. And we can all definitely relate to that. So how do you make that real in the real world? So, we've got a business presentation to make, or we got kids. I've got 4 kids. I know you've got 5 kids. So it's like we're pulled a million different directions. So it's hard to have that like single-minded focus that we had as an athlete. How do we enjoy the process of the big business presentation or trying to get a promotion or trying to build a company, or for the coaches out there listening, building a team? How do you embrace that process? I mean, is it the same thing? I mean, do we just embrace that process, embrace the grind of trying to just be the best every day in the real world, the same as when we were athletes?
Well, first of all, I want to say I love what you're all about. It's about failing your way to success. Success is a journey, man. It's not one presentation. If you blow a presentation in a business setting, great. What are we going to learn? What adjustments are we going to make? How are we going to improve? How do we get better? See, the problem with failure in most people's eyes is when they're failing and when they feel like all the walls are coming in, whether it's our kids, growing up and going through all the pains of growth and all the things that they're going to go through, or whether you're in a business setting or whether you're a coach, ultimately success is a journey. We got to fail. We're going to fail miserably along the way. The biggest problem with failure, as I was getting ready to say, is that's the place where most people opt out. And that's the most dangerous place to opt out, because that's the place when you're failing and having some of the greatest failures. I say the greatest failures. You're creating wisdom. You're getting better. You're learning. This is not a time to quit. It's the time to take more action, take the next step, keep moving forward, keep learning, keep getting better. Hope you're going to continue to fail, because every time you fail, you get better as long as you don't opt out when it gets tough.
So let's continue down that path of failure, because I ask all of my guests to share a time where they failed, because we look at people like you, Todd, and we go, okay, 15 years in the bigs, this guy knows nothing but success, right? And you talk about, you grew up in this environment, you had, the Mickey Mantles and Yogi Berras as your role models and mentors and your dad's buddies. Like, you grew up in this environment. So everything must have just come easy to you, right? It must have been easy, or probably no failures along the way, and everything was a smooth ride, because that's all we see is you on the baseball card, you on the website, you in your name and all the accolades. That's all we see. Can you share a story that maybe people don't know of failure or struggle or adversity that you've had to face?
This is where we should really laugh, right? Where I've had no failure. Everything came easy.
It was easy, right?
I got to tell you, man, there's so many different times. I'll tell you, I was at a pivot point, and it really transformed my mind, I believe, for the rest of my life. And that was, in 1988, I made it. I got the call. It was the last day of spring training. My manager, Jimmy Williams, called me in. He says, "Hey, you're going to be my fifth starter." I worked so hard for that promotion to finally say, man, I've made it. But making it and staying there is harder than getting there in the first place. And, it was July, the end of July, they sent me back down to the minor leagues. And I was telling you, I was having a terrible year, and I was young, and I was learning, and I was getting beat up all year long. And I was getting beat up on a good club. So it's hard being the worst player on the last, on the best club, but got sent down to the minor leagues, had to go to winter ball, came back, learned a new pitch, a new skill, was just keep developing. The dream was alive, man. And then 1989, made the club again out of spring training, got sent down for the second consecutive year. And I got to tell you, it was that point in my career where I was like, is everyone else right? Am I going to really make this? All those people that told me I wasn't like my father, all these people that said, what are you going to do when you don't make it? And when I got sent back down the second time, I started to wonder. I started to think. I was like, wow, am I going to really be able to make this? And here was, for the first time in my life, here's what I thought. I was like, what am I going to do? See, up until that point, I had a single focus, and that was my dream that started in Yankee Stadium was so alive. It was so big. I could see it. I could smell it. I could feel it. But here I was at a critical moment, and am I going to actually make it? Am I going to actually be able to do this? Am I going to really have a career? And, that night being sent down and driving, I remember driving from Toronto, Canada to Syracuse, New York, driving by myself, radio turned off, just thinking, wondering, all the negativity, trying to get into my mind. And I watched the sun come up that morning, and I thought, you know what? I'm going all in. I'm going for it. I'm going to be the first one to the ballpark. I'm going to be the last one to leave. I'm going to work on my skill every day. I'm going for it. And if I win, I'm going to win in front of the world. And if I fail, I'm going to fail in front of the world, but I'm going to fail going all in. And I got to tell you something. At that point, here's what I didn't know. I didn't know that 1 month later I was going to get called back to the major leagues. I didn't know that 1 month later I would get called back to the major leagues and then go on to play 15 years. See, at that critical point, I had no idea I was going to play on 3 world championship teams. See, I had no idea of the concept of any of this. But what if I would have quit? What if I would have opted out at that point? See, I would have missed out on 15 years, 3 world championships, tens of millions of dollars. None of that means anything. Here's what I would have missed. I would have missed out on the mindset that if you stick with it and you keep moving forward, and as long as your dream is alive, you just continue to get better. You continue to keep failing and getting better, learning new skills, making adjustments. What I would have missed out on is dreams do come true, and that you can dream big and you can accomplish those big dreams. You know, people have accomplished enormous things all around the world because they forgot to give up. They forgot to quit. So I would say come to a place of resolve and just say, you know what, I'm going to continue moving forward. But, you know, failing your way to success is absolutely it. There are no straight lines. There's no one that ever got to the top of a mountain and didn't fail miserably to get there.
Wow, Todd, I honestly, I talk about this on a lot of on every single episode of my podcast, and I don't know that it's ever been better said than what you just put it there. So absolutely incredible. And I want the listener to know. So the listeners, I want you to realize what he said. So this amazing career, it's easy to think that it was sort of predestined and predetermined, and he knew all along that he's going to go on to this great career because we're looking in hindsight and this is what happened. But like you said, like Todd said, at that moment, there was questions, there was doubt, there was negativity in his mind, the same that's going through your mind right now for the listeners about whatever it is, about losing 30 pounds or starting the business or fixing a broken relationship or making $1 million. All that stuff that's going through your mind, that doubt is normal. It's okay, but you've got to push it back. You've got to operate despite that. And your destiny is not predetermined. So your story is not yet written. And if you choose to opt out or lower your goals, and opting out might not be like quitting baseball like Todd could have done, but it might just be lowering your goals or, you know, not starting the business or just kind of drifting tomorrow and the next day and the next week and next year in the same path you're drifting right now. That might be your opting out instead of choosing the hard road, choosing the big road, the high road, the big goals. And so your destiny is yet to be written. So don't opt out. Keep pushing. What the fear and negativity and doubt you're experiencing right now is normal because it happened to Todd Stottlemyre, who has 3 world championships and a 15 years career in the big leagues. And Todd, so you mentioned something earlier about this environment, right? You grew up in this environment where, you know, these guys were all thinking big, and this was almost like normalized for you, right? A career in the big leagues and success was sort of normal. What do you say to the person who says, you know, we're all kind of trying to find these excuses for not succeeding, right? We always have this sort of self-doubt that's like, okay, well, yeah, but you know, he may have struggled and failed and got called back to the minors a couple times, but he still grew up around Yogi Berra and his dad was a superstar. And what do you say to the person who didn't grow up in that environment and is using that as an excuse right now? Because I talk a lot about what I call an environment of excellence. Like athletes have an environment. We have, you know, we had teammates and coaches and strength and conditioning coaches and nutritionists and sports psychologists, and we watch film and we listen to audio maybe that boosts our mindset, and we're surrounded by people that help us move down this path. What about the person who's like right now they're saying, you know, I didn't grow up in that environment and I'm not in that environment right now because my job or my boss or whatever other reason. What do you say to that person?
All those reasons, all those excuses are nothing more than lies that we continue to tell ourselves for why we can't succeed. You see, I tell people all the time, the ceiling above you, you are the architect of that ceiling above you. You installed it. See, it's those ceiling above your head, the one that you built, you're the one being the architect to that. That's a lie. See, those are lies. I mean, people everywhere that have come from all walks of life, all scenarios, some of the people that come from the worst environments. I think of Howard Schultz right off the top of my head right now. I mean, the CEO, chairman, Starbucks, multi-billionaire, and he'll tell you he came from the other side of the tracks, that he grew up poor. See, what environment did he grow up? So here's what I would tell you. Having an incredible environment, absolutely an edge. If you don't have it, up to you to create it. Right. Create an environment of desire. Create an environment of commitment. Create an environment of trying to get better. Create an environment of listening to audios, reading books, becoming a student. Create your own environment for success. If it isn't around you and it doesn't come naturally, so what? You know, I would tell you, I was so blessed to have an incredible environment and be around incredible people. But here's what I would tell you. All of my dad's teammates, or most of them, also had sons. They also went to the stadium. You know, what's funny is the people from that era, my dad's teammates, their sons play Major League Baseball. You know, so what is the difference there? So we can say, you know, I took advantage of the edge. I had a passion. I began to dream. I began to see it. I began to believe in my dream and feel it emotionally. And I was like, you know, I become obsessed about it. You know, so maybe some of my dad's teammates, their sons didn't become obsessed about it. By the way, that's okay too. Maybe they had other obsessions. Maybe they wanted to do different things. I would just tell the people who don't have the most incredible environment, maybe aren't as fortunate as I was to have that environment, but I would tell you, be the creator of it, man. I mean, think about Walt Disney before Disneyland and Disney World. He created that environment. There was no environment for him to grow up in to create that. He was the creator of it. I would tell you, become the creator.
Yeah, amen. I'm not even going to add on to that because that was absolutely incredible. You hit the nail on the head. Todd, you talk about getting in the zone. As athletes, we know what that means, right? As you know, as an athlete, I knew what that mean to be in, quote, the zone. What's that mean in the real world, and how do we get there in the real world?
So, you know, I really went back and, you know, as I'm building business and speaking to people and helping people try to achieve goals, and you know what I realized that is today in today's world, that so many distractions, man, from emails to text to social media to all of the things, and you know, all of social media and all of the power of the smartphone today is an incredible asset to build business, but can also become a liability. And it becomes a liability when it becomes a distraction, when those things become distractions. So getting in the zone, as I say, is a distraction-free environment where you focus 100% of all of your intensity of your focus, of your mind, and if you're doing something physical, of your body on the task at hand. You see, that's the place peak performance happens. I give a couple of examples, and I talk about when I was pitching in a game that I'd be pitching in front of 50,000 screaming fans, but it would be as if I was in the stadium by myself, dead silent in my mind, because so much focus. I couldn't hear anything. It was like I was in a solitary confinement where there was not a word being said because my focus was that intense. To bring it to reality for most people, I tell them this. I said, look, what if you got on the stationary bike? And then you got on the stationary bike at the gym and you had your smartphone, and as you're pedaling the bike, you're taking selfies and you're, you know, posting them on Facebook. Hey, I'm at the gym, I'm riding the bike, and you're answering emails, right? That's what we could call that a workout. But what if your shadow got on the bike next to you, no smartphone, and got on there with no distractions, with the mindset of just getting the most incredible workout on that bike, just riding that bike up hills and turning it all the way up and having to stand on the bike and crank it out, sweating bullets for the same length of time that your other person, right, that you came from, is doing all this. Who's going to get the better workout? Yeah. Well, the one that is attacking the workout, that's being in the zone. That says, I'm going to work out. Here's the task. I'm going all in. I'm going to go for it. And both people are going to get a workout, but one's going to get in I call an executive workout. We pedaled the bike. We got a little exercise. Great. The other one's going to get an athletic workout. Who's going to get in better shape? Well, there's no question who's getting in better shape. The one who gets in the zone with the task at hand.
Right. Same amount of time spent. Different results. Sure. Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to your book. So your book you're working on it right now. It's coming out, I think, either this summer or this fall. Is that right?
It's going to come out July 1st. Man.
Okay, July 1st.
For it. Yeah.
So
sure.
It's called Relentless Success. And you talk about the 9-step recipe for transforming into a champion. Can you briefly outline like maybe all those 9 steps or some of the key parts of that recipe so that the listener can really have some good concrete things to take away from this?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I'll go through them very, very quick, and I'll just tell you that I actually have that 9-step formula on my website at toddstottlemyre.com. You can get a free download, and it's really just it's a system for helping people create success. Obviously, it starts with the goal. And I talk about growing up at Yankee Stadium where I had a dream. That's step 1. Step 2 is what behaviors, what do you have to do? What behavior do you have to do for it to become a habit that's going to help you hit your goal? See, success typically comes down to just 2 or 3 things done daily, compounded over time. So we talk about behaviors, and number 3 is the why, all the reasons why you're going to get up and you're going to go through the pain, all the reasons why. And it's like, and I talk about a story in there, in my book about where I lost my little brother to leukemia after giving a bone marrow transplant. Wow. And how that really changed my life, where I was out of control of the end result. And here's, for me, my whole personality was on everything that I believe in, everything that I'm going to go for, is that I'm going to do everything that I possibly can that's within my control. But your why is huge. Step 4 is, what are you going to give up? See, in order to get somewhere where you're currently not, you're going to have to give up something that you currently have, right, in the short term. So you got to have to be willing to sacrifice. Step 5, I call fighting the enemy or fighting the dream stealers. Look, there's going to be other people's opinions everywhere based on what your goals and your dreams are. And I talk about fighting the enemy, and I have a lot of fun. I have a great story in there about when I was getting ready to pitch against Nolan Ryan, and the reporter back home, and I was getting ready to throw against Nolan, and 5 days earlier, he actually pitched against our club in Arlington, Texas, where he threw his 7th no-hitter. 5 days later, I'm facing the Texas Rangers and Nolan Ryan. And I remember the reporter saying, on the TV as I'm getting ready for the game inside the locker room where there's TVs everywhere. And they're talking about Nolan. Could he throw back-to-back no-hitters? Could he throw number 8? And they're going on. Everything is Nolan Ryan. And it should be. He was legendary. But at the end, what happened was the reporter says, if anyone cares, Todd Stottlemyre is pitching for the Toronto Blue Jays tonight. I was like, wow, like I care, right? And at that moment, that comment became my enemy, and it was another chip. See, the enemy either knocks you out of the game, deflates you, or inspires you for a moment. So I talk about fighting for the enemy. That's step 5. Step 6 is decision time. You make the decision to start the goal. That's not the tough decision. The toughest decision you're going to make is like when I got sent down for the 2nd time in 2 consecutive years, and that is the decision to continue to move forward when things are at where it's toughest, where everything is coming against you, and it's the decision to take one more step to keep moving on. Step 7 is, who's your coach? See, I believe coaches help us get as close as we can to our human performance. So I would tell you that all the greatest athletes, musicians, artists, actors, presidents, CEOs, all these people that have done extraordinary things all have coaches. So my question all the time when I'm talking to somebody is, who's your coach? Who's going to help you get from point A to point B where the learning curve will be shortened, where we can gain wisdom? Step 8 is resolve, man. Just take the quit option off the table. And then step 9 is, all right, we've planned it. Now it's time to work it so that we can then live it. And then in step 9 of taking action now, I have some steps where you can track your progress daily and weekly. I call the stat tracker. And actually, I have it all in a PDF prior to the book coming out. What's the book do that the PDF doesn't? It brings real life stories, tragedy and triumph inside those 9 steps to make the listener today understand, or the reader of that book is, hey, look, we're going to go through it. Just like you say, Jim, we're going to have to fail all. And at the end of the day, my belief is success is not only a journey, it's a process, and we have to stick to the process to help us succeed.
Incredible. And for the listeners, I will have links to everything he just mentioned there, the PDF and everything, and his website at in the action plan. So jimharshawjr.com/action, or just go straight to Todd Stottlemyre's website, toddstottlemyre.com. And so, Todd, what habits do you have that you feel have just set you apart? Over the years, you've done them. Like you talked about, success comes down to pretty much 2 or 3 things done daily, compounded over time. Are there any particular habits that you have even now that have helped you continue to grow and continue to be successful and helped you just achieve success?
I like the word continue to grow, because I think the biggest problem was people reach a peak or somewhere they've accomplished something, and then it's kind of like, and then they relax. You see, and when they relax and they don't continue to grow, or they don't look up and say, there's another mountain, there's ways for us to get better. You know, the day you stop dreaming, or when you stop dreaming, or stop making goals, or the day where you stop trying to get better is the day we die right on our feet. So yeah, today I'm always, I would say, what separates me or what this or that, I'll just tell you the ability to say I'm looking for a new habit that can be life-changing. I'm going to give you some stupid example right now. Is, you know, my wife said to me, I'm the last one out of bed in the morning, and even though I rise early, I'm the last one that gets out of my bed in the morning. And my wife says, you know, you're the last one up. Why don't you make the bed? And I was like, that's a great question. I guess because you've always made the bed, you know. And my wife, I call her the CEO of our home, you know, 5 children. She's the baseball mom, the football mom, the soccer mom, the track mom. She's running all over the place. My best friend and soulmate. But she says, you know, why don't you make the bed? You know, and here's what's funny is then I watched a YouTube video of a Navy SEAL talk about making the bed. That was the first thing they did in the morning, and it put them in a productive state. He says, but more importantly, even if you had a bad day, you came home to a bed that was made. And I was like, wow. And that interview that I got from that Navy, it was so incredible. So I told my wife, I said, I'm going to do the bed. I'm going to make the bed. And literally, this just started 4 months ago in my life. And I started making the bed. And I'm going to tell you something. The first couple of days, I was like, dang, this stinks, man, making the bed. But you know what's funny today is the second my feet hit the ground, first thing I do is make the bed.
Yeah.
Now, sounds so simple and so stupid, but here's what it's done. It's put me in a productive state. See, every single day when my feet hit the ground, I make that bed, I've already done something positive. And because of that, it's put me in a productive state. I remember thinking, I've got the bed made. What do I need to do next? See, it builds momentum. See, the littlest, stupidest, simplest habit will, or behavior that becomes a habit, these small ones will lead to the discipline of you taking something much bigger, a behavior, and it becoming a habit because you're building momentum from small to large. See, think about it. If you can't make your bed, why should the challenge of doing something much bigger, well, you'll fall on that if you can't do something so simple. So when I talk to people about installing new habits or new goals, start small. See, because they'll build momentum and build belief, and they'll build, credibility, and they'll build confidence that you can accomplish things. So the little habit of making my bed 4 months ago has been transforming for me, and it's been incredible. But I would just tell you, kind of getting back to your question, is the willingness to install new behaviors. And I talk about new behaviors this way. We got to steal from willpower to try to go do something new day in and day out. And there's science that says it takes 21 days to create a habit. There are science that says it takes 30 days, 66 days, 90 days. Here's what I would tell you. You do the new behavior every single day until you can do it without having to think about it. Then your life changes.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I think I heard the same interview, or at least I've heard of that habit before, and it was from a military person, so it might have been the same guy or the same interview, and about making your bed. And the interesting thing is, it makes you that 1% better. And you said daily, you go back to a quote you said earlier, success comes down to 2 to 3 things done daily, compounded over time. Well, if every day you are 1% more productive because you made the bed and you started your day out with something productive, and you put yourself in that productive mindset and positive mindset, I'll take that 1% compounded interest every day over years, and it makes an impact on your life. So Todd,
think about it this way, Jim. Yeah, think about it this way. 0.3% better every day. At the end of the year, you're 100% better than you were when you started the year.
Love that. Wow.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. That's incredible. 0.3% better every day makes you a 100% better at the end of the year. Wow, that's an incredible number. I love that. So what habits, what's an action item that the listener can take? So maybe it's making the bed. What's something that they can do in the next 24 to 48 hours to really start moving toward their goals? Number one, I'd recommend go to toddstottlemyre.com, download the PDFs, download his free content there. Great stuff. But Todd, can you recommend any concrete action item the listener can take in the next 24 to 48 hours to start moving towards their goals?
Yeah, and let's not forget, we first create our habits, then our habits create us. We first create our routines, and then our routines will create us. Here's what I would tell you. Whatever goal you have, the first step is you need to break down what are the 2 to 3 things that you need to do consistently over time that will help you achieve that goal. So when you've broken those 2 to 3 things, maybe it's just even 1 to 3 things, whatever it is. See, what I want you to do is take action now. I don't want you to wait until tomorrow. I don't want you to wait until next week. I don't want you to say, I'm going to start next month. No, I want you to start right now. See, some of the times people hitting the goal or not hitting the goal comes down to the decision to get into action right now. See, the problem is we all live busy lives. And as we live busy lives, things get in the way. And then what happens? Then the goal that you set, you haven't even started, and you get a week out and then a month out. And then here's what you start doing. I don't have time to do that. I don't have time to hit that goal. I don't have time to get in shape. I don't have time to start the new business. I don't have time. And you start lying to yourself. So the single biggest and greatest advice I can give you right now is get in action right now. Figure out what that one behavior is and go do it. If you want to get in shape, go to the gym. If you don't have a gym membership, guess what you need to do right now? You need to go sign up for the gym membership. If you can't afford the gym membership, who cares? Drop to the floor and start doing push-ups, sit-ups, take a walk, take a jog, but do something now.
Incredible. Todd, thank you so much for making time to come on the show. If you take a minute and promote yourself, let us know where we can follow you, find you. Certainly toddstottlemyre.com. Anything else you're working on? Anything else you want to share with us?
Well, Jim, I appreciate that. If you go to toddstottlemyre.com, you can hit any of the icons, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, all those places where we can, you come follow me, I'll follow you. We can hang out together on social media and help each other. I will tell you that you can go get that free download, the 9-step at my website. And then I actually just launched what I call your playbook for success. It's a goals planner called The Zone. I actually walk you through how to prepare for the goal and go through all of the steps. And then it rolls into a daily, weekly, monthly planner where you actually even measure your zone time every week. So if you want to become part of that, I have a private Facebook for all the people that buy the Zone Playbook. You can be part of the private Facebook group called the Zone Playbook. And it's where like-minded people who are trying to succeed and where we all work together. So, Jim, let me just close by saying it has been an honor, man. You're a champion, my friend, and I appreciate being on your show.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun, Todd. I appreciate you making time. So for the listener, I'm going to have an action plan. There's a lot of great stuff, a lot of great quotes. I have a bunch of a page and a half of notes here scribbled just from talking to you right now, Todd. So thank you. And for the listener, until next time, take the time to get clear on your goals and embrace failure as a stepping stone on your path to success.